What's going on, everybody? Y'all already know the vibes. And look, I got something special for y'all. Because you guys all wanted to see me do my predictions and recap for the whole Super Week, that's what we're doing. So if you didn't see my first day, Monday predictions, I'm going to try and get CJ to put a link somewhere above my head for him. But now we're going to give the recap and then the predictions for Tuesday. I will say this. It feels so good being right, you know? It's so good. 2-0 on Monday. But yeah, let me quick gas myself up because I know y'all probably gonna roast me. Let's get right on into the recap and the predictions. So getting into the first map, guys, I actually thought the Mutineers would have taken the hard point and then Gorillas would have bounced back and got their only win of the series in the S&D. But I was a little bit wrong there. I will say I was right with assuming that if Crossroads Hardpoint was a map, which it was the first map, that the Mutineers would have a hard time because they looked really bad on it while the Gorillas actually looked solid on that map. They absolutely dominated the Mutineers on Crossroads Hardpoint. They won by over 100 points. It was 250 to 133. And it was just a real good showing out of Vivid, out of Silly, and even Assault. But it was great to see Vivid step up this map. He had the most engagements on his team. He dropped, I think, like 32 and 28. And that is what I expected out of Vivid. He's very aggressive. He wants to be in your face. And obviously he wasn't performing that well in the prior series, but this was a good start to him. Now, heading into map 2, guys, this is where I did think and I did predict that Gorillas would get their win. Obviously, it was backwards because this is where the Mutineers got their first win of the series. I did predict, or I did think that there was a good chance that it would be Miami just because both teams had played Miami in both of their series that they played previously in the season. And so, yeah, I'm a genius. But maybe, especially after seeing how Toronto looked in S&D, obviously I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but they did beat Faze, you know, so maybe the Mutineers are a pretty solid S&D team, which I wasn't really giving them much credit. Maybe they should be in the conversation of the best S&D team in the game. So I didn't know that, you know, before going in today, and with Florida losing on Miami 6-4 to Toronto, and knowing that Gorillas S&D is probably their strong suit, I didn't think that Florida stood a chance. But they proved me wrong. They won 6-3. Going into the map 3, the control, guys, the swing map, I thought this was going to be a blowout for the Mutineers just because, like I said, Gorillas didn't look like they really knew what was going on in their previous matches when it came to control. But, you know, maybe they figured it out. Maybe it was just kind of off maps because this went all the way to round 5 where Florida did end up winning it. Once again, this was a poor map for App. At this point, App's having a real bad series, but it's great to see on the other side of things, Awakening and Skies. Once again, they had a fantastic map. Awakening went 31 and 25. Skies went 29 and 24. And this was the map where the other two, Neptune and Slack, stepped up. Jerry went 24 and 18, and Neptune went 25 and 23. Okay, so it was a great team win for them. A little bit closer than I would have liked, in my opinion, but Florida was able to take that 2-1 advantage that I was talking about in my prediction video. Now, obviously, that came from maps 2 and 3 instead of maps 1 and 3, but we're just gonna let that slide, okay? Because I'm still right, you know, in maybe not in the super specifics, but I'm still right. Moving on to map number 4, Florida Mutineers up 2-1. At this point, I have full confidence that they're going to close the series out. So at this point, I feel like a genius just because Florida Mutineers did close out the series on Garrison Hardpoint. It was close up until the 170 mark, but that's where Florida really just took over, and they were able to have some very nice holds on the hills, chain some hills together, and just kind of put the game away in a sense, right? Put it out of reach for the Gorillas. And even though, you know, it was close throughout, majority of the map, this was a nice showing from the Mutineers. This is exactly what they needed. This was a huge win for them, I think, mentally, because, you know, I still think they are a very good team, right? And they could be a top team, potentially a contender. And when you are, you need to beat the teams that you are supposed to beat. I know I keep saying that, guys, but it is a true statement. It's probably the truest statement. That's how you can tell if a team is the real deal or if they're maybe just having a couple good series, you know, or they're inconsistent. But it was great to see. Once again, Awakening and Skies did their thing. Neptune had a huge game going 29-21. You love to see that out of the young gun. But for the Gorillas, it was just pretty poor besides Vivid. Once again, App finished 16-25. Real bad series out of him. I love App. My guy Donk. So it sucks to see him not performing well. But I feel great because I did predict a 3-1 victory from the Mutineers. But that puts me 1-0 for Super Week. Okay, I'm 1-0. I'm on the board. Now we will get into the matchup that I was really excited to watch. And that is the Toronto Ultra guys versus the Atlanta Faze. All right, guys, now getting into this Atlanta Faze Toronto Ultra matchup. I did predict the series score correct. I said 3-1 Faze. I was obviously and still am very high on Toronto. You know, I wanted them to make this a close series. But at the end of the day, trusting my gut, knowing what I know, I knew it was going to be tough. Now, to get a little bit more specific, I was wrong in some areas, okay? And I was right in some areas when it came down to like really diving in and looking at the matchup and the maps and everything like that. I thought Toronto Ultra was going to sneak the map 1 hardpoint away. Obviously, that was reversed because it was Atlanta Faze that did that. But I did say that I think this first map was going to go down to the wire, which it did. I think the final score was like 250 to 240 something. But Faze just clutched up. Obviously, they have the ice. I don't even need to talk on that. You guys, you already know Faze has the ice. And it was good to see, though. It was, because even though Faze isn't the best respawn team in the game, I said that I think it's Optic right now. Faze is very good. They are one of the best respawn teams in the game, especially when it comes to hardpoint. And seeing Toronto Ultra play that first map, the raid hardpoint, that close is a good sign, because honestly, they could have won it. They could have. But Atlanta Faze did win map 1, a freaking nail biter, 250, 246. But Toronto looked good, you know, and it was neck and neck the whole map. And this is where I was a little wrong when it came down to like predicting what map I thought it was going to be, as well as the score. Because, and this is obviously credit to Toronto Ultra, I'm assuming they vetoed Miami S&D because they saw how dominant Faze looked on it, and they end up playing Raid S&D for map 2. Now, I don't know if this is just a map that Faze isn't that great at, and you know, maybe in their minds they thought that they were going to win the series, so they want to test it out, or maybe they are really good at it, but Toronto is just better, right? And maybe Toronto is up there with Faze for, you know, best S&D team in the game, because Toronto Ultra absolutely manhandled Faze. Even though it ended 6-3, they had the lead the whole time. I believe they started up 4-0. Just really playing some nice, solid, fundamental S&D. And Faze was kind of able to climb back into it, you know, claw away at the lead. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough. You know, we had a great performance out of Bance, 11-5. Cammy also had a fantastic performance, going 7-5. But I really want to touch on Bance a little bit here, because he did do the best in the whole lobby, going 11-5. Also as the bomb planner, which is huge. He had 4 bombs planted on offense. And it's tough to, you know, really have good games. It's obviously, it happens, and it happens a lot. But when you are the bomb planner, your situation is a little different when it comes to the offensive side of things. Obviously, it doesn't affect it on defense, but on how you play those rounds out. So Bance had a phenomenal game, and it was nice to see, because Atlanta Faze is freaking disgusting. And we were able to see back-to-back raids because the control was raid. And it kind of went how I predicted. I thought Faze was going to win this map, and they did it in pretty much dominant fashion, 3-0. You know, they took a hot start, winning an offense. Once again, maybe I don't know as much because I haven't played as much. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm a fan and just a viewer like all of you guys out there. But they won the first offense, and they did it without even really trying to cap the points. I mean, what I mean by that is they won off kills in the first round. And maybe that is a strategy for them, or I know it's very hard to cap B on raid while you're on offense. But Faze starts out strong, wins the first round, and this is where they really just kind of ended the game, moving on to the second round. So on the second round, obviously, Faze tries to do like a B push because they know it's hard. Doesn't work out. They end up going A. Once again, Toronto now on the defensive side. They just kind of give it up. They don't want to lose too many lives. They know it's very hard to cap B. So they just play their lives, you know, try and, you know, just pick them while they're on the point, kind of collapse on them, trap them in. But it doesn't end up working that well. Fantastic game out of Simp. He went 22-9. And honestly, no one on the Ultra played well because they got 3-0'd in the control. You're not going to play well. You know, they needed to win that second round, that defense. And then hopefully it would have came down to whoever gets defense at the end of the game for the last round. But they didn't. So it was pretty convincing win out of Faze. You know, it was obvious after they did steal that offensive round that there was no shot they were going to lose this. They would have really had to have crumbled, and they didn't. Faze takes the lead 2-1, which I did predict. I'm a genius. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. Moving on to map 4, though. Faze really showed why they should be the best team in the game. They should be considered the best team in the game. They absolutely dominated. It was 250-128. I don't even really want to touch on it that much because it was a blowout. It was. But I will say, I like how the Ultra played for the most part. Okay. They definitely should have won map 1. They won map 2. They got bodied map 3 and map 4. Yes, I get that. But it opened my eyes. Toronto can be the real deal. Okay, they can be. They could have easily been up in this series 2-0. Obviously, you know, it's easy to say, oh, well, they smoked them the next 2 maps. And yeah, they did. And it would have went to a map 5. And who knows what would have happened. But the whole mindset is different. You know, if Ultra were up 2-0, Faze's mindset going into that map 3 and the rest of the series would have been way different than 1-1. And even for the Ultra, you know, I'm sure that they were thinking after they won that SND, damn, we should be up 2-0 right now. But now that we got that out of the way, guys, I am going to give you my predictions for the second day, Tuesday of the Cdl Superweek, where we have 3 matchups. Now, this will be the first match of the week for the Legion, whereas Mutineers already play Gorillas, so they're already kind of in rhythm. I know it's not on the same day, but they are, you know, it feels good. You got a game under your belt yesterday, like a competitive game. It's different than practice. Paris Legion, I don't know where they stand right now, okay? They got bodied by Optic. They lost 3-2 in a close series to the Gorillas, where they were able to win the control and map 4 hardpoint, which was on Garrison. But the Gorillas just lost 3-1 to the Mutineers. So obviously, I don't think this ain't surprise. Mutineers is the better team, in my opinion. I think they are going to win this series. Without dabbling too much into the map set, I will say I think that Mutineers might not want to play Crossroads, maybe. But I definitely think that they will play Garrison just because they play Garrison versus the Gorillas, and the Paris Legion also played the Gorillas on it, and they beat them as well in the previous match. Now, who knows? Paris Legion could mix it up a little bit. I don't know. But I just don't see a world where the Legion have a legitimate shot at winning this. The Gorillas did beat Paris Legion in both SNDs, and you know, Paris Legion is kind of just randomly put together pieces, right? So SND might be a weak point for them, whereas Florida Mutineers, they showed that, you know, they're a solid SND team, at least at this point in the game. So I'm gonna go 3-1. I think Paris Legion will win the control. I think that might just be a game mode that all of the players on Legion are very good at individually, and they just kind of click. But I don't see them winning another map. I don't. And now I'm like really trying to think. And bro, I really want to get this series count correct, the score. I think there's a good chance that the Mutineers could 3-0 the Legion. I don't think the Legion get more than one map. I don't, so I have to just play it safe and say 3-1. I hope to God they steal one, though. I do. And I hope it's the control, because that would make me look like I'm smart as hell. Moving on to the next matchup of the day, though, guys, and it is none other than Clayster and the New York Subliners versus the Royal Ravens, the London Royal Ravens. Now, this one's going to be a little bit tougher to predict in my eyes, just because both teams only played one match during the opening week. They both lost, but so hard because the Royal Ravens lost 3-2 to the Surge, right? Whereas I'm not very high on them as a team. But I also don't know if the Seattle Surge are going to look like a completely different team now that Gunless is on 240 hertz, because he was playing on 60 hertz. Or maybe he's too much on 240. I don't know. You know, and Seattle Surge did start that series up 2-0, and then Royal Ravens kind of clawed their way back into it. On the other hand, the Subliners played the LA Thieves, where they lost 3-0. And if you just looked at it, that's it. 3-0. You think they got bodied. But it was a damn close series. The Subliners could have 3-0 the LA Thieves. I do think that the Subliners will win the first hard point. You know, they should have won it versus LA Thieves. LA Thieves clutched up. And I think LA Thieves is a much better hardpoint team than the Seattle Surge, where even though the Royal Ravens dominated the Surge in map 4 in the second hardpoint, they did lose the first one to Seattle. And it was close. You know, it came down to the last seconds of the game. Now, I kind of want to predict Subliners 3-0, but I just have a feeling. I have a feeling, guys, that they might run into some of the same problems that they did versus the Thieves, where they can't close out games. Okay. And so I think I'm going to say the Ravens are going to win the control. Now, I want to see Haggy put on for the city. You know, he's getting a shot again on the Ravens. I want to see him do well. I want to see him succeed. And this is probably a biased pick, you know, going 3-1 Subliners. But this is tough because I haven't seen much of either team. Now, this is going to be a good one for a couple reasons, guys. Because I know I've been gassing Faze up. I've been gassing Toronto up on the S&D side of things. But Rocker, I believe, at least when it comes to teams playing more than one match, maybe even, well, I don't know. But I think Rocker is the only undefeated team in S&D right now. I could be wrong. Someone could fact check me with that, but I'm just kind of going with the flow. I'm not going to look at it. But I know that the Rocker have not lost in S&D. Okay. And they played LA Thieves and the Dallas Empire. Those are two top teams in their group. So I think there's a good argument, or maybe it's just well known, actually, that the Rocker might. Well, I love how I'm saying might. The Rocker are the best S&D team in the game. Or, you know, they're up there. They're definitely up there. I think it is still too early to tell on the best S&D teams in the game. They look really good at S&D. They dominated both Dallas and LA Thieves in S&D. Which brings me to my next point. The Seattle Surge. Like I said, Sam said. Twitter, Sam tweeted. This is the first time in my career I've ever been on an S&D team. Well, I don't know if he's just saying that, you know, because they won some S&Ds to some weaker teams, or if he legitimately thinks like, hey, we are an S&D team. But it's going to be interesting because they're going up against a team that hasn't dropped an S&D. So I have to favor the Rocker when it comes to every S&D. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Seattle is going to start up 1-0, and they're going to lose the S&D. It's going to go 1-1. It's going to go over to the control, where I have Minnesota also winning that game. So Minnesota looks okay in control. They lost to the Thieves in it, but they beat Dallas in it. And I do think Minnesota is the better team here overall, you know, so I want to see them win. I think they're going to win this series. So I'm going to go ahead and say they will win the control. I'm going to say I think the Rocker will win map 4 hardpoint as well. That's all 3 matches ending 3-1, which honestly, my odds are not in favor when it comes to getting the actual scores correct for the series, because 3-3-1s, I mean, it's possible. It's happened before. But just to give you guys a little quick recap, I do have the Mutineers winning versus Legion. I have the Subliners winning versus the Royal Ravens, and I have the Minnesota Rocker beating the Seattle Surge. Those are my picks for day 2 of the Cdl Superweek, guys. As always, thank you for the love, man. I'm sure most of you saw the first episode of Run It Up. If you haven't, you can go to the LA Thieves channel. CJ, you can put it somewhere in the video somewhere. Let me know what you think of it, man. I had a blast making it. It was basically our test run because we didn't really get a pilot. You know, things didn't align up, but I think it came out pretty damn well, and I'm excited for the future. And yeah, man, everything's just it's been great. Been grinding. I love seeing the growth. Love seeing the love. You guys already know what it is. But that's it for me. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy. Until I see y'all, the kid is out.